Okay. Hello everyone. My name is Brian Locke, and in this stream I'm going to show you how to control a LED strip with an ESP8266 microcontroller. If you're not familiar with what an ESP8266 is, it's an Arduino board that has built-in Wi-Fi, and it's also about $3 delivered from AliExpress, so it's really cheap and it's really capable as well. And you can basically do anything you can do with a normal Arduino with it, but then you have the added benefit of having Wi-Fi with it too, which is pretty cool. Okay, let me just check in on the different places. We've got one viewer on Twitch. Hello to you. I won't bother look at the preview. And then I never really know how to check how many YouTube viewers there are. There is 2. Hello to you too. So I'll be keeping an eye on the chats. So if you have any questions, please feel free to throw them in there. Even if they're not directly related to what I'm streaming about, if it's something I can talk about while I'm going over what I'm doing in the stream, be happy to try answer questions. I guess the main thing I'd probably be able to answer questions on are ESP8266 ones, but throw them out there and we'll see what we can do. Okay, so this is part 2 of the stream. So we created something last Monday to control the lights with the ESP8266, but we didn't do any of the Wi-Fi parts of it. So that's what we're going to try to do today. But let's recap over what we did last week first, so we can get everyone up to speed, and it would also be good to just remind people. So I guess the best thing to do would be to probably just show you it working, hopefully. So we have our circuit here, which I'll go over in a bit more detail now, but you can see it's being powered by an ESP8266. This is a Wemos D1 Mini board. This is my favorite one because it fits in a breadboard and because it's so cheap, and it also has all the pins broken out. So I'm going to plug in my 12-volt power supply. It's going into a DC to DC converter, which is dropping the voltage down for the Wemos. It's bringing it down to 5 volts and using the voltage regulator on the Wemos to power the 3.3 volt ESP8266. And then the 12 volt is also connected to the LED strip through a MOSFET. And the MOSFET is basically what's allowing us to control the voltage to the LED strip using the ESP8266. So it's not, the LED strip isn't being powered directly from the ESP8266, it's just stopping the voltage from the power supply going through to the LED strip unless the ESP8266 turns this MOSFET on. So, and the other thing that we have here is a rotary encoder. So rotary encoders are they're pretty similar to potentiometer in terms of their shape, but how they work is different. There's no kind of start and end point. They don't actually change the resistance, so they kind of report back in software that they've moved clockwise or anti-clockwise, and they also have a button on them too. So if this is working okay, so when I press the rotary encoder in, so when I press that button, it's turning the LEDs on and off. And then when I rotate the rotary encoder clockwise, which is this one, it should be changing the brightness, but it doesn't really seem to be. I might have broken this when I was playing around with it earlier, so yeah, I kind of rewrote the code a small bit, although I don't think I uploaded it. So I guess that would possibly be the first thing to try figure out, is why that isn't working right. Oh, there it is. I guess I must just have a loose connection or something. So yep, if I rotate it clockwise, it gets brighter, and if I rotate it anti-clockwise, it gets dimmer. So one thing I noticed when I was playing around with it is I shouldn't let it turn off when I dim it, because now it gets into this state where I press the button and now it's off, and I press the button again and now it's on, but I don't know the difference between that, and I can only change the brightness when it's set to on. So I would need to know that it was on. So I'm going to change it in code so that I only let it get super dim, but I don't let it turn off by the rotation of the wheel. So yeah, let's go over, what do I want to do? This one. Yep. So I added, since we were on the stream last, I added the code up to my GitHub. Let me just drag this over here so you have a better view of it, and then I let it snap. Yeah, so I added the code from the last week up on GitHub, and I added a README for it as well. So a project for controlling 12-volt LED strip using the ESP8266. So the features we implemented were rotary encoder, switch toggles the LEDs. Rotary encoder adjusts the brightness of the LEDs. So what we'll be concentrating on for this stream is that we want to create a web page to control the strip using Wi-Fi. So this will be complementary to the rotary encoder. So we want to be able to do either using the rotary encoder or using the web page. So the end location for this strip is going to be underneath my kitchen counters. So like I want to be able to, you know, if you want to turn it off, if you're at the table, or turn it up or down, you can use your phone. But you know, if you don't have your phone on you, if it's down charging or whatever, you can just quickly go over and use the rotary encoder instead. And then the other thing that I want to add is Amazon Echo support. I need to be careful to not say this word because I have that thing here with me and I don't want to really set it off. So if we get to that, hopefully we'll be able to use that too to turn it on and off. So just to issue commands to say, hey, yeah, I want that on or whatever. That was also a big reason to use a rotary encoder, both these features, because you know, if the brightness is set by software, now it could be set by the web page or the rotary encoder. You know, it's not a physical switch that's limiting the brightness or even turning on and off the LED strip. So I also listed out here the, sorry, I was pointing at my OBS with my mouse rather than the web page. I also added just where I'm streaming. If you're here, you obviously know that thing. The previous stream is here, but I'm kind of going over what we covered in that anyways. So there's the parts that you need. It's actually pretty inexpensive. I think this was $7, $3. A pack of 10 was $3. This was 60 cents. I think this is another $3. This is $1, and then I think this was like another $1. So like overall, and sorry, that 12-volt strip is for 5 meters as well, so I'm only using 2. So this is a pretty messy wiring diagram. I don't know what was up with fritzing, but it just wasn't kind of clicking properly. But so we have the ESP8266 is the main thing. I couldn't find an object for the DC to DC buck converter, but so the 12 volt comes into it and then the output is adjusted. There's a potentiometer. So we used the multimeter the last time to just read the voltage coming out of it to adjust that to 5 volts. And then the encoder, again, I have an encoder module that doesn't look like this, but this was as good as I could do. So I just have the I just have the wiring for that listed out here. So ground is to ground, plus is to 3.3 volts. Switch is for the clicking in and off, so that's for turning it on and off. That's connected to D5. This DT line, which I presume is probably data, is connected to D6, and then clock is connected to D7. And the thing that controls the LED strip is this MOSFET. It's the IRLB8721. This is capable of like switching up to 8 amps or something. So I'd say we're using less than 1 for this, so it's comfortably able to do it. So what it's actually doing is it's controlling the ground connection to the LED strip. So this is an RGB LED strip in the diagram here, but we're just using a regular white one. So you can just ignore the 2 pins down the bottom. So we've got a plus pin and a minus pin, and so we're switching the minus pin basically. So when purple is high, it will connect ground to this blue pin, and that'll turn on the light strip. And we're also using analog right, which is a way of adjusting the brightness from the microcontroller. It's using PWM, which is pulse width modulation. So basically it just turns it on and off really quickly. So it happens so fast that all we see is it being dimmer. We don't see it turning on and off this fast. So yeah, and then it's got a 12 volt DC input. So that's pretty much us up to speed. Hello to any new people who have joined. Let me know if there's any problem with the quality of the stream. I'm streaming on pretty much a mobile hotspot. Funnily enough, it is way better than my DSL broadband. I've got less than half a meg up on my DSL broadband, and I get over 2 megs on the hotspot. So the only reason I'm able to even attempt to stream is because the hotspot is pretty good. So okay, let's jump into it. So the first thing we wanted to do was to fix it so that brightness never went down to 0 when you turned it. So this is the code. It's pretty straightforward. This was on the GitHub page as well, obviously enough. So we just have one external library at the moment. This is the encoder one. So if you just search on the Arduino library manager, which is under Sketch, include library, manage libraries, and if you just search for encoder and install that one, that's the only external library we're using at the moment. So we have a pin defined for the LED strip, so that's connected to D2 as per the diagram earlier. And then the rotary encoder has 3 different GPIO pins connected to it. One for the switch, which is D5, one for the data line, D6, and one for the clock, which is D7. So the rotary encoder library takes the data line and the clock as constructor parameters. We have a push button cooldown due. So this is basically a variable where we want to store basically a debounce for the button, that we don't want to let the button be pressed too often, or like when I click it once, I don't want it to register as multiple clicks. So we put in a cooldown, and I'll talk about that in a second. We just default the starting brightness to 200. You could, if you wanted to, maybe save this brightness to somewhere persistent like EEPROM or SPIFs, but I don't think it's important really. Like, the majority of the time this won't be plugged out or anything, like as in you can just turn off the LED strip without turning off the ESP8266, so it should most of the time remember where it was anyways, because it won't be turning on and off. Then we're also just keeping track of the LED state, so we know whether the rotation of the button, so rotating the rotary encoder does nothing when it's off, so we're using that for that. as per the example in the encoder library that we used, we're just keeping track of old position. So what the rotary encoder reads in is the new position. So we want to check, is it different? So we want to check, is it higher? If it's higher, it's rotating clockwise, and if it's lower, it's rotating anti-clockwise. This Carlton Dodd in the YouTube chat says the quality is great, so that's brilliant. Just last week we did notice that every now and again it got a little bit choppy, but overall it was pretty good. So hopefully if it does go that way, it's it won't last. And hey Carlton, hope you're having a good evening, day or night wherever you are. Okay, then just in the setup we have a serial begin, which we aren't actually using anywhere, but I always recommend just initializing a serial for, especially when you're kind of in the middle of development, so you can quickly throw in a debug message to check where you are. Then we're just setting the pin mode, so we want to do the LED strip as an output. And then this is important actually, that the push button is an input pull-up. So basically this is a pin setting that acts like you have a 10k pull-up resistor connected to the pin as well. So this makes it actually easier to connect buttons up. So you know, normally you would have to have a pull-up resistor to make sure that when the button's not being pressed, that the pin is defined to a certain value, you know, it's not floating. We actually, before our last week when we were playing around with it, I didn't know whether we did need a pull-up resistor, and we could see that floating issue until I changed this to an input pull-up. So that's a really handy way of doing buttons. And then just in the loop here, pretty simple. We just take the current time, so millis is the amount of milliseconds that's expired since the Arduino booted up. So we check, is time greater than the push button cooldown due? So we started that at 0. So straight away this is going to be true to begin with. Yeah, and then so we read the digital read of the push button. So if it's low, that's a trigger event for us. So it starts high because of our pull-up resistor, and it'll go low when we press the button. So then if the LED is on, we turn it off and we write the pin low. So if you watched my quirks on the ESP8266 video, you'll know that there's a bug in the ESP core that you can't digital write low to an analog written pin without writing analog write 0 first. So if you're using analog write at all with an ESP8266, for the moment, definitely make sure to include that when you want to turn it off. I probably don't need the digital write at the next line, but I just left it in there. It doesn't really make much of a difference. And then obviously if it was off, we want to turn it on, and we write whatever the brightness is, and then we're adding the push button cooldown due. So we're doing basically what the current time is plus 500 milliseconds. So what that'll mean is if this button is pressed, it will kick off a timer that basically blocks this from happening for the next 500 milliseconds, so half a second. So that will mean that like buttons won't double tap, which was happening when I only had that set to 100. So Carlton is in the USA, so it's early for him, or early evening at least, and he was asking, have I thought about using an interrupt for the button input? And that's actually a really good question, and it possibly will become important going forward. So I was just using, I was just doing it the simplest way possible, so like, you know, if the button is pressed, do whatever, but with ESP8266 development, interrupts are actually really important. So ESP8266s are very single-threaded. They can only do one thing at a time, and that goes the same for basically all Arduinos as well. It's not unique to the ESP8266, but what is kind of unique is that the ESP8266 can do tasks that take a long time. So say for example you want to go to a web server and pull down the latest weather data. That can be kind of slow, so that could take maybe a second for the response to come back, and for that entire second your ESP8266 can't do anything else. It is just sitting waiting for that response. So if I had this here, or this implementation here, as well as a service call to say something like the weather and that took a second, if the button was pressed during that second, it would be completely missed, because this line of code just wouldn't be called. It'd be sitting somewhere else waiting for the response back. So what interrupts do is basically it kind of, as far as I know, it like pauses the execution where it was and runs a little bit of code that you have set up in your interrupt handler. So you can basically like set a flag to say, hey, this button was pressed, I need to act on it, or maybe you can even act on it in that interrupt. But that is something that we might need to do if, if we find that when we add in the web server that the button isn't responsive. So good suggestion, Carlton. Okay, so then down here is the code for the encoder. So it only happens if the LED is on. So basically it reads in a new position, my encoder read. It checks if the new position is greater than the old position. I increase brightness by 10. And if brightness is greater than 1023, which is the max that the ESP8266 can analog write, which is different than regular Arduinos. Regular Arduinos, the max would be 255. And so I just set the brightness to be 1020. And then the opposite, obviously, for when it's being turned anti-clockwise, that if new position is less than old position, I decrease the brightness. So this is the change that I was talking about here, that if, like, I don't want it to turn off anymore when I rotate it enough. So if the brightness is less than 10, I'm going to set it just to be 10. So that'll be very dim, but not off. It might be too dim actually, because realistically what the minimum was before was 40, because the encoder seems to increase in jumps of 4, but I'm not too sure. We can see how that works out after I upload it. So, and then just I saved the old position. That was something I forgot to do when we were doing the stream last week. Save new position is old position, so you know the next time we come in here we can comparatively see, and then I analog write the brightness, and that brightness is stored as a global variable, so if it's turned on and off it'll be the one that's used here. So let's plug it in and upload our new version. Okay, that should be done. So let's, oh, oops. RE push button is not declared in scope. This is the one I have up on GitHub too, so whoops. I better fix that too. Okay, so I changed the name to be RE switch, so it will be closer to the name that's on the encoder. So while that's saved, I might just upload that to GitHub. Isn't showing up for me in my stash, or not my stash, my source tree. That doesn't matter, I'll fix it afterwards. Excuse me. Okay, so it's still okay, done uploading. So now I think you can see that okay. So there's the brightness, and I can dim it down, so I don't know if you can see it, but it's still on there anyway, so it doesn't let me reduce it lower than that. So that's kind of what I'm after. Okay. Right, so the next thing we want to do is add a web server. So normally what I would do at this stage is I go to an example of something I've done before that has a web server. So I'm gonna go to my GitHub page. I'll bring you on that little adventure with me. And a few weeks ago I did a video on how to do web pages better on ESP8266. I think that's what I called it. Seems like a bad name for a video. Maybe I never actually uploaded the code for that. Let's see. Or did I do it on the Wi-Fi controller car? Yeah, I never uploaded the code. Bad me. Okay, well, this one also has a web client, but I'll have to try and remember what I did for the separate page thing. Okay, so we're going to need all of these. Actually, you know what's better, we should probably just go to an example rather than me grabbing that stuff. So we want to go to ESP8266 and we want to go to Wi-Fi and we want to go to a web server. Okay, so if we look at what they're doing here, so they start a web server on port 80. They are reading strings in and they're parsing the response. This isn't what I want. Okay, let's go back to my original plan. Okay, so let's copy in what we want from here. Okay, so I'm just gonna call this leave LED strip where it is, and I am going to make a new one which is LED strip Wi-Fi. I'm gonna save this first. Now I'm gonna save as, oh, I seem to have messed that up anyways. No worries. So I'm gonna call this LED strip Wi-Fi. Off to a good start anyways. So these are all standard libraries. If you've installed the ESP8266 core, we don't need to install anything else. I'm not sure if we need Wi-Fi client, but we'll take a look. And also this ESP8266 MDNS, this is for like going to the device using using a DNS name, like a local DNS name. So if you wanted to call this like kitchen lights, you should be able to go to kitchenlights.local, I think. I haven't gotten that working yet. I think you need to install Bonjour for Windows, but I just haven't gotten around to it. So we do need to add Wi-Fi now. So that's interesting. I don't know how I'm going to handle that one. Oh, what I'll do is I'm just going to use one of the facts of that quirks of working with the ESP8266, that it'll remember the last known Wi-Fi credentials. So I'm going to off screen I'll put in my own credentials and then replace them back with something boilerplatey like this one. So we will keep them. So that'll be my username and password. I'll show you what I mean about it remembering the last Wi-Fi credentials in a minute. So we need an ESP8266 web server, and it's going to be on port 80. You always want to really start it on port 80 for web pages. Okay, so we need to do Wi-Fi begin. We really need to copy all this stuff. So this is what I mean about the MDNS. So that means if you are set up properly, if you go to ESP8266.local, that should work for me, but it won't. So yeah, that's a problem. Okay, so this is just basically generic Wi-Fi connection code, so we'll throw that in here. So it's just connecting using an SSID and a password, and then it's waiting for it to be connected, and it will print the IP address when it is connected. So let me get that part working first. So kind of confusingly, I have let me just give you back to this one. Kind of confusingly, I have two networks in my house at the moment. I have my DNS on one, and my DSL on one, and then my mobile hotspot on the other. So I have to be careful which one I connect it to, or like my PC is on the mobile hotspot. So if I connect to the mobile hotspot, or sorry, if I connect to my regular Wi-Fi using the ESP8266, I won't be able to see it on my PC. So unfortunately, my hotspot has a weird name. It's not actually my phone's hotspot. It's actually a physical device that has a SIM card in it. So it's up in my attic, and yeah, I've had it just over a week now, and when it's up and working, it's been working great. But it did stop for a couple of days, or nearly a couple of days. So I don't know if you'd want it to be your only solution. But if you're stuck, you're stuck. So let's see. Let me just drag this over here. Let me just let that build. So Carlton is saying Andreas Spice is a good method to keep the credentials off screen and make writing these things easier. He keeps all his credentials in a credentials.h file. Yeah, so that's a good suggestion too. What I will probably end up doing with this, although it's not that portable, so it doesn't really matter that much, is end up using Wi-Fi Manager, which is, you know, that library that lets you not hard code credentials into your sketch at all. So it'll basically, the default for it is if you want to try connect to it'll try connect to the Wi-Fi, and if it can't, it'll host its own Wi-Fi network that you connect to, and then enter in your credentials for your Wi-Fi networks. So that's a really good option, which we'll get to soon, probably. I also love that library. I think mainly because it's by far my most popular video, is the video on Wi-Fi Manager. So I owe a lot to that library too. So I think it's Zapu who makes it. Awesome job. I saw actually recently that somebody made one for MicroPython as well. It was on the ESP8266 it's on the ESP8266 forum. So there is my SSID, and it seems to connect fine. So that's cool. So now what I'm going to do is, well, now that you've seen that, there's no point changing that one. But so I'm gonna change that to something nice like brine. So Carlton is saying he made a gas fireplace controller for his friend, and I was very impressed with how he could configure it easily. Yeah, it's amazing. Like I don't know how you would do that kind of a thing without Wi-Fi Manager. You know, as in be able to give projects to people. You know, unless you expect them to be able to program it, which is not normally not the case, anyways. So yeah. Okay, so that connected fine. So now we can start doing some of the web server stuff. So I guess the first thing we could do here is let me see. Do I have an example? I really would prefer to do it the way I was talking about before, which is using string literals and the file in the web page stored in a separate file. It just makes it a little bit cleaner to work with. So let me just. I run 2 versions of Arduino, so I can have 2 different versions of the ESP8266 core. This 1.84 is the main one that I've installed, and then I also have like a portable version that has a different version of the the ESP8266 core. So yeah, cool. I really should have named these things better, but I don't seem to have anything to do with. Here we go. So here is there's my password. Let me just take that off screen. It really doesn't matter anyways, seeing as you're not anywhere near my house, and my house is in the middle of nowhere, so it's not like my neighbors are going to see it either. So I have a separate page here that has nothing in it. Oh man, what was I doing? Okay, doesn't matter. Maybe I stored it on GitHub in a different branch. No, I don't know what I was doing here. Anyways, so the string literal of, so this is the web page is stored in a string literal here, and if I just quickly grab how I did that, I really can't believe I don't have an example of that stored anywhere or up on my GitHub. That's pretty disappointing, to say the least. Okay. I'm just quickly rushing through my YouTube pages here to find out exactly the format. And okay, cool. So the format for a string literal is or quote bracket and then bracket and quote. So anything that's in this is considered a string. So it doesn't matter if there's new line characters or anything at all. Everything inside it is going to be considered a string. So we can make web pages in this, because previously the way we would have had to do it is, if we go back to GitHub, like I was building up web pages using, like, you know, string web page equals this, and I'd have new line characters everywhere. So if you wanted to debug it in Chrome, or, you know, view the source in Chrome, that it didn't look like one big mess of a line. So, but now you can put it into your string literal exactly as it is, and it will you know, keep the new lines and everything. So that's pretty handy. So sorry about how long that took. Okay, so yeah, actually, oh sorry, I'm not even Oops, I haven't been showing you my desktop for a while, so you didn't see my password. I planned that all along. Okay, so you go up to this little tag here, and it's hidden behind a picture. You go to new tab, and down the bottom here it will say name for new file, and we're going to call this web page. So you can, write out the web page in the sketch itself, but I don't recommend it because it just gets kind of messy. Like it would look something like this, website equals blah blah blah, and that's a mess, and it's also pretty inefficient memory wise to be assigning strings like that, as far as I know. So I'm going to call it webpage.h. I can't call it .html, or the Arduino build won't bring the page with it, or the compiler won't bring the file with it because it won't think it has anything to do with it. So it has to be something that the C compiler will, or C++ compiler will recognize. So .h works okay. So format was or quote bracket quote. So anything in here is going to be considered a string literal, and then how we reference that page is, and we'll do it up here, is this. So const char star web page, and then we're hash including the name of our new file, so webpage.h. So let's start with something really simple first. So we'll just put hello in here. Then we can get a little bit more complicated later on. So what we want to do now is we will, so we just want to handle the root. So if somebody goes to our IP address, we want to redirect them somewhere. So we'll only have one page on this app, because it's going to be pretty basic. So we're going to create a new method called handle root, and in this method all we're going to do is server.send 200. So we want to say that was okay, and we're sending it back as a HTML page, and we're returning this web page pointer, which is what's contained in this string literal. So what we should see when we go to the page now is just a blank page that says hello. So let's upload that. I need to make sure to get rid of this Wi-Fi begin. So yeah, that was in the quirks of working with the ESP8266 video, that even though I'm commenting out the Wi-Fi begin, this will still connect. It'll use the last known Wi-Fi configuration details and just connect to that. I hope, now that I've said that. I know, it definitely does. Yeah, so sorry, it was sorry, I was a bit flustered there for a few minutes, so I wasn't looking at the chat, so sorry about that, Carlton. Yeah, I was just showing the LEDs. I need to make sure to have OBS like pinned to my other monitor so I can see when I'm doing something silly like that. Okay, so I'll just check on the different places. Twitch, we have one viewer, hello to you, solo Twitch viewer. And then on YouTube we only have a couple as well, so it's quiet times, but no worries. Okay, so we're done uploading. I'll look at the serial monitor. So I should have a web page now on 161.3, and I don't, because I have missed out on stuff in my sketch. So I have a server.on. So basically, when the server receives a connection, it should go to the web page that we created. But in my loop, I never tell it to handle the server, so that isn't working, and that's why. So if we just add in the loop server.handle client, that should cover us. Yeah. So we'll upload again, and yeah, Carlton was saying, I don't know what I was doing here. Every programmer ever, probably. Yeah, normally I have been pretty good at like documenting everything I do with the ESP8266 stuff up on GitHub, but I never did it with that video, and I don't know why. And now it came back to bite me. Are the previous Wi-Fi credentials stored in the spiffs? Is there a way to erase them? The first answer is no. I don't think they are. I think it's actually it probably is spiffs. Basically that Wi-Fi.begin, like in the ESP8266 core, or maybe even in the underlying like ESP8266 firmware, saves the Wi-Fi credentials into flash memory. So I guess it is spiffs. And yeah, I don't think there is a way to erase them either. I guess you could write a bad value to it. It doesn't remember the last, good connection. It just remembers your last setting. So, actually, if you do Wi-Fi mode, Wi-Fi.mode, I think there's Wi-Fi off or Wi-Fi _off. That might make it forget. I know it'll turn off the Wi-Fi for sure. I don't know if it makes it forget your password. So yeah, I guess like people with the right tools could potentially read back your Wi-Fi password. I think it would be pretty difficult. Well, it's not difficult if they know what they're doing, but they'd have to get physical access to your device, and then they would need to know how to read the flash memory and decrypt it, or not. It's not even decrypt it, but like dump the flash memory and then find out where they needed to look to get the Wi-Fi credentials. But yeah, so sure, as you could see there, it worked fine for me, even though I have that line commented out, which is kind of an unusual thing. Yeah, so hopefully we now have a web page. We do not have a web page. Why don't we have a web page? So 192.168.1.3, and okay, so I have, whoops. Yeah. Server.begin. You need to run at the end of your setup for making a Wi-Fi server. Okay, so not worried about theft, just back to clean firmware for development. Yeah, so yeah, I wouldn't be concerned about theft either. It's just I do see a lot of people on Reddit talking about, and how to best protect it or whatever. I think any IoT device, if you're worried about like theft or people getting onto your network, I think IoT devices should probably be, like, if you wanted to be safe about it, they should probably be on their own guest network, or maybe a VLAN or something along those lines. But yeah, if you want to get back to clean firmware, I'm not fully sure. I'm sure there's probably like a flash arrays or something, but yeah, so you'll actually, like, every now and again you'll come across questions on like Reddit or Twitter or whatever where people are like, oh, my old sketch isn't being erased because it's still connecting to my Wi-Fi, or it's connecting to my hotspot even though my new sketch has nothing to do with this. So like if I removed every bit of Wi-Fi code on this sketch, it would still connect to my Wi-Fi. You know, if I left this line in here and then removed everything else, well, I guess I already did when I commented that out, it would still connect. So that is something to look out for. But yeah, you can turn it off using that Wi-Fi mode, and then I think it's like this when we're waiting for it to upload. Wi-Fi, I think it's mode, and then it's like Wi-Fi off, or I think that will turn it off. If you want to do that. Okay. What are the hopes that it'll work this time? It should. Hello. Okay. Perfect. Yeah. So, like, that's a simple enough use case where we go to the root and we want to display a web page. So what we also want to do here now is we want to create endpoints to change the LED stuff. So we want one to toggle the LED, and then we want one to change the brightness of the LED. So we're going to use Ajax, which is kind of like a background call on your web page. If you notice, like some web pages, when you click a button, it reloads the page. We don't want that. So you'll see on other web pages where you click a button and it stays on the same page, but something happens in the background. That's an Ajax request, so it's a background request. So we're going to let the user load this one page, and there's going to be a control for toggling on and off the LED. So we'll just have a button that's like toggle LED, and then we'll have hopefully like a slider or something for changing the brightness. So let's work on that. So okay, so we're going to need to add new endpoints. So we want server, I'm saying so a lot, server on, and then we want toggle. All right, Carlton, he has to run for dinner. Yeah, it should be on YouTube tomorrow, maybe. Yeah, I'm not sure exactly. The last time it seemed to go straight up, but then a couple of weeks ago it seemed to take a couple of days. So hopefully it should be there tomorrow anyways. It'll definitely be somewhere. Thanks for joining and keeping me company. Okay, so we are doing toggle, and we don't really have any parameters with our toggle. So this is creating a method here. So when toggle happens, we're going to execute the code that's in here. So the first thing that we want to really do is just to make sure that this is working okay. We'll do a serial.println toggle. Now what we are going to do, because we're good citizens, is we're going to create a new function, and I'm not writing JavaScript, so I don't need to write the word function. So we want to create a toggle LED function, and it's going to return a void, and yeah. Yep, fine there. So we are going to take all of this. So we want to take into consideration if the LED is on, and we want to change it if it's not. Yada yada yada. So we are taking that. I need to stop saying the word so much. We have all of that there. I stopped myself that time. And we'll replace all of that code with this toggle LED. And is this right? We'll do Control T to format that. So yeah, that's a good tip actually. If you press Control T, it will format your code. And okay, we've got a commenter on Twitch. Hello, Silja Russell. Oh, somebody using ESP8266 and not Arduino on Twitch. And surprisey face. And hello, by the way. Hey, I don't know how to pronounce your name. Silja Russell, I'm gonna guess. Call Sil. Yeah, I will call you Sil, thanks. You could see that I was struggling with that. Yeah, so I love the ESP8266. I kind of went on a rant the last time almost. I think for me, it's a case of why can't I use an ESP8266 rather than why should I use an ESP8266? So nearly all projects I'll use an ESP8266 unless there's a good reason not to, in terms of maybe I need a lot of analog pins or just a lot of pins in general. So yeah, love the ESP8266. I'm always using them. Thanks for joining. If you have any questions, feel free to let me know. If you want me to do a recap of what we were talking about so far as well, no problem. Okay. We have a toggle LED method now, so we are going to use that in our toggle, seeing as we have it now. So now that will look after, you know, if the LED is on or if it's not on or whatever, that will just look after that. So if we receive this toggle event, we should turn on and off the LEDs. So let's make sure that that's working. So our web page still doesn't have a button. Oops. What am I missing here? I am missing, oops, I never closed my bracket. Yeah, so the web, yeah, I thought that looked weird. Alright, what am I missing? I'm missing, oops, is that right now? Yep. Yep, so the web page still doesn't have a button or anything. It's just still going to say hello, but we're going to type in /toggle at the end of the IP address, and that will hit this endpoint. So we can see if it toggles the LED strip or not. And yeah, so Sil was saying that that he loves the ESP8266 as well, and the biggest problem with the ESP8266 is probably the analog input is only 1 volt, so it goes 0 to 1 volt. The ESP8266, or sorry, the Wemos D1 Mini has a built-in, voltage divider, so it'll take up to 3.3 volts on the analog pin, but it only has one analog pin as well. So yeah, if you're working with analog stuff and you need kind of the precision, maybe an Arduino would be a better choice. But I kind of think there's a lot to be said for having, maybe even 2 of them, like as in an ESP8266 and an Arduino. Like, a Nano is what, like $2 or $3 off AliExpress. You could have a Nano literally just reading the analog pins. And yep, so this is a Wemos D1 Mini. So this is actually a fake Wemos D1 Mini. Here's a real one. And it's a sneak peek at a project I'm working on. So they are pretty much the same. You can see the curved PCB is different on the real one. A lot of people say that they've issues with these. I have literally never had an issue with one. So like I have bought a lot of these fake ones, and I have a good few of the Wemos, the genuine Wemos ones as well, and I haven't had an issue with any of them. I still have all the boards that I have bought. I don't have any broken ones. Yeah, this is a sneak preview of a project. This is a capacitive touch module. So if you saw, I released a video a couple of weeks ago about a HID Bluetooth module. So I guess you can kind of see where this is going. If you have a capacitive touch module and a Bluetooth module that can send keyboard commands or button press commands for a gamepad, maybe you can make a DIY makey board, if you know what one of those are. That'll be in an upcoming video, hopefully. Cool. So right, we go back to our web page here. So let's open up a new one and we'll go to toggle. And awesome, it worked, and it stopped working when I did something. Huh. I obviously have a loose connection somewhere, because me pushing down on it is enough to get it to work again. Yeah, it's possible that there's things touching off each other, because you can see there is some copper. No, you probably can't see it. There is some copper traces at the back, and the sticker that came with this is starting to fall off. Yeah, let me just run it out straight. Okay, let's put away that down. Okay, so toggle. It seemed to take a while for that to. Oh, I'm not responding anything back. That's probably a problem as well. So I should respond back. That toggled. And let's upload that too. Sil was saying that he mostly uses Node MCU, V3 Lowland boards. Is that the... I have two Node MCU boards. Just 1 second. This is the Lowland one, is it? So Lowland V3. What I don't like about this one is the fact that it's too big for a breadboard. It like covers all the pins and doesn't let you connect anything to it. Other than that, I think it's pretty good. This one is one I got recently. It's really wedged onto this motor driver breakout board. Okay, is this a Mika one, and this comes pre-soldered as well. It's really similar to the Lowland one, but it does fit on a breadboard, which I thought was pretty good. But then if you compare both of them in size with the Wemos, it's a decent bit smaller, and it pretty much has everything that the other ones do as well. Some less pins broken out, but they're kind of like not as usable pins. Like say this one has chip enable broken out and things like that, which the Wemos doesn't have, so not the end of the world. Okay, toggled. So toggle. See, it might have even been Chrome, because it wasn't getting a response back, going, oh, maybe I need to try this again, you know, so it might have been looping. So that seems to be working fine anyway, so every time I press enter, it turns on and off the thing. Okay, so now let's add in, setting the brightness. And I don't fully remember how to do this. I have it here. Okay, so that is going to be in its okay, that is going to be its own method. So server on my keyboard, or my mic is kind of in the way of my keyboard. Sometimes I can touch type, but not today apparently. Let's just check on the chats. Okay, I made couple, kind of like they use for Raspberry Pi to get on breadboard for the Lowland boards. Okay, so it's like a, is it like a ribbon cable or something that connects back onto the breadboards? I haven't really used the Pi that much. I have several of them, and I keep meaning to do things with them, but I just haven't gotten around to it. So we'll call this what? Brightness, I guess. I don't know. Yeah, let's call it this, and we'll handle brightness. Did I spell brightness right? I did. Okay, so we need to create a new method called handle brightness. So I'll just copy this one for the minute, and we'll grab that. Now we need some code to read arguments, and one comes with the example. It's in the handle not found method that comes with the like web page example, so we're just going to use that. And the code looks like this. Oh, we don't want to. Okay, so we got server.args, and then he's pulling out the message, so arg name. So we want if arg name equals we'll set it as level, maybe. No, I don't want that down there. We want to set brightness equals server arg. So that mightn't be too clear what I'm doing here, but we'll I'll give an example of it, and then we can work backwards from there. So let's do a serial print ln. Let's do regular, not ln. Setting brightness to terrible. Oh no. Let's print out brightness there, so we can see if it gets in there. I suppose we should also put it in a thing here. This is just handle brightness. Oh, I cannot type at all. I don't even have any excuse. Okay. My internet seems to be behaving a lot better than it was last Monday, so that's good. So Sil was saying that he doesn't use the web server much. He just uses MQTT. Yeah, I think MQTT has its purposes for sure. I think for things like this, it's probably handy to have the web page, especially like if it's just a toggle on and off command. Like, yeah, that's cool. With MQTT, you could have like one of the MQTT apps or whatever that just exposes a button to turn it on and off. But I guess if you want something a little bit more kind of user friendly, like I don't think I could tell my girlfriend to download the MQTT an MQTT app or whatever. But like also if it works right, if we have the scroll bar, or not the scroll bar, I can't think of the name. Yeah, the slider to set the brightness. Like I don't think you'd probably be able to get that with the MQTT stuff either. I haven't done a huge amount of MQTT. I keep meaning to. It's on my incredibly long to-do list. Okay, so we have handled brightness. It calls here. Syl says he creates naughty toys that's remote controlled, so MQTT works better for you. That's fair enough. Yeah, for remote control stuff as well, I use Telegram a lot. I wrote a library for that. Like I use, oops, cannot convert. Oh, okay. So I need to Arduino string to int. I have to look this up every single time I just need to do to int at the end, is it? So I use Telegram as my main messenger anyways. So if you're not familiar with what Telegram is, it's an instant messaging client. It's really like WhatsApp, but it allows you to have bots, and you can run a bot on the ESP8266, and it gives you like a nice little interface to it as well if you want, using reply keyboards. So they're just like simple buttons to click, and I find that really handy because I also would use it. Like I have a client on my PC and my Mac and my phone or whatever, so it's really handy. And then like one example, I don't have it running at the moment, but I had my water heater controlled by it, and like if somebody was coming to my house, like I could just add them to the group chat I had with the bot, so now they would be able to control my water heater, like when, you know, if they wanted it to turn it on to get hot water or whatever. And it was just, yeah, it was nice. Basically I was using a motor to physically flick the switch of my water heater, and that got a little bit janky, and I've never fixed it, so must get back to that at some time. Another thing on my long to-do list, yeah, the stream looks really good today in terms of like my dropped frames since I started streaming is like 129, which is nothing. So that's great. Hopefully this can stay like this. Okay, so I'm done uploading. Right, so we have so /brightness is our new endpoint that we've created, and the argument that we want to set on it is level. So let's see how that goes. So we'll create a new one here. Oh, did I respond? Yeah, I do. I shouldn't respond with that, but set brightness. It doesn't matter for now. It'll be fixed the next time we look at it. Okay, so we have brightness. Okay, so that's the endpoint. And now we need the arguments. So the arguments start with a question mark, and then every additional argument will have an and between it. So we have level, and we want to, so this is brightness, so it's between 10 and oh, that's interesting. So I am setting the brightness, but I don't actually analog write, so it's not going to take immediate effect. So that's something that we'll need to look into. So level, let's set it to 500. Okay, so if I press the button to turn it on, okay, that's relatively bright, so let's set the brightness to 50. And it did take immediate effect. Why? Why did it do that? Oh, if LED is on, it'll analog write the brightness every time. That was convenient for me. So yeah, that's working now as well. So what we need to start doing is a bit of a user interface. So we can use this level. Now, one thing, we're not protecting against upper and negative bounds of this. Like, so I can put in like 7,000 here, and it'll, you know, go down to the ESP8266. So I probably should be protecting against that, but in the interest of time, I am not going to. So what we want to do now is we want to start building out our web page to actually look like a web page. I use something called Bootstrap, if you're familiar with it. It's kind of JavaScript. It's a CSS and there's some JavaScript as well, library made by Twitter that just kind of provides components. I'll show you quickly. Bootstrap. If you are a web developer, or if you've used Bootstrap before, you can start spotting like Bootstrap websites like a million miles away. But it's good. So what do I want to see? Components. So like here's examples of different things for styles. What do I want to see? I want to see forms, card forms maybe. No, it's not really forms I want. Maybe it is forms. Well, I'm gonna need a button anyways for the toggle, but then I want a scrolly thing that I keep forgetting the name of. Scrolls by. Yeah, what is it that I want? Is it a component? Just make this full screen. I'll get you back in now in a second. It is a slider. That's what I want. Slider, isn't it? No. Okay. Bootstrap slider bar. Yes, this is exactly what I want. With jQuery, without jQuery. Yeah, data slider. Examples for the Bootstrap slider component. Okay, so, is there not one? Does one not come with Bootstrap? Well, there is a Bootstrap slider, so I don't know why I can't find it. This is also version 4. I think I'm using version 3. Let's see. GitHub. I am using version 3. Shoots me to, oh, there we go. Yes, this is what I'm more familiar with. Slide, oh, I must be naming it wrong. Should I search for range? Not there. Maybe it's, is it CSS? Range slider, could be in JavaScript actually. Oh, disappointing. Okay. Simple HTML5 slider. No, I don't want a slideshow. Oh yes. Yeah, this will do me perfectly. Thank you. Yeah, this will work. Bootstrap. Okay, so how do I pull it in? Do I just... Is it just CSS? CSS style generator for range inputs. Oh, sorry. So the HTML input is called a range, and then this is styled, a styled one, is it? I use that for my dashboard. Cool. Okay. Yeah. Let me yeah. Let me quickly throw this in. So. So it's, yeah, input range. Okay, cool. This is a Bootstrap website too. Okay, so let's bring in the skeleton first, and we'll bring in the toggle button, and then we'll add the range. Oh, sorry, I am looking at range over here. Yep. So this is exactly what we want. A little scroll bar should do the job perfectly. Okay, cool. Okay, thank you for that. So, where is my LED strip Wi-Fi? Yep. Okay, so we want to start bringing in just standard header stuff. Really wish I saved that saved where I did up this website. Oops. So I'm just bringing in, technically you should be tabbed in one. So this is just code that I had on the web page from the stream I did with making the Wi-Fi controlled car, or remote controlled car. So this was done in the Arduino IDE, so that is why it has all this website equals this sort of stuff, but we want to use this string literal thing that I was talking about earlier. So, and I think I should just end HTML here, and I think that should be it. I'll just put in just a sanity check this back here and upload. Cool. Yeah, so Sil provided a link that we were showing earlier, and he's saying that it's just CSS styling, which is perfect. Okay, so we've got 2 viewers on YouTube, hello to you, and 3 viewers on Twitch, or 3 even, if I could pronounce tree correctly. Okay, so what do we have here? We're uploading. Just gone correct you a bit. I am not a he. Oh, sorry, Sil. That was very presumptuous of me. Apologies. I don't know. For some reason, I just thought Sil was a guy's name, and I have no reason for why that would be the case. So, apologies. And thank you for pointing that out. Oh, cool. I don't know if I've ever spoken to anybody from Norway before. I don't know if you're into soccer at all, but Ireland and Norway are playing pretty soon. You know, World Cup qualifier playoff. So I hope we can still be friends afterwards. Okay, so it's changed to high there. I'm just gonna do an inspect in Chrome. I don't see any errors anywhere, so we're looking good. And the head looks fine. Okay, so let's add some bootstrappy stuff. Not so much into sport for. Yeah, I'm kind of into soccer. It doesn't really bother me too much. Like, I won't lose sleep if Ireland don't qualify for the World Cup. I'd like them to, but it probably won't affect my mood one way or the other if they don't. Okay, where are we going? LED strip. Okay, so that worked fine. Now we want to add in the button. So we're going to add in a div into our body here. Div class fluid. Probably don't need to be fluid, but we'll do it. Why not? Okay, so we have div class column 4. I don't need all this escaping stuff. I guess I can start getting rid of all that. Maybe it didn't cause any harm, but seeing as we're using string literals, we can do it right anyways. Have you built any many projects with the ESP8266 Sil? And how did you come across the stream as well? Just did you find it randomly on Twitch, or did you see it on Reddit or Twitter or somewhere? Okay, so this is a div container. So this is just basically saying that, like, yeah, my web page is going to be in this. Me setting the column size to be 12 here basically says I want it to take the entire width that's available to it. So if I set it to 4, that would be 1/3 of the width available to it. If I set it to 6, it would be 1/2. So 12 is the max for Bootstrap, so that's the entire width. And then we're going to put a button element in there. That makes an Ajax call. So again, I'm borrowing code from the other stream that I did. I'm guessing I should have an ID in here. So this is the toggle button. It's of type button. Its class is button default. So they're classes that come with Bootstrap. Gives us a bit of styling. Width, we want to make it 120%. I don't want to do on touch start. I want it to be on click, right? I wanted to make an Ajax call, right? So that's a function, a JavaScript function that I'm going to need to add. What do I enter this? And untouch start. Okay, yeah, I'm trying to remember what I want to do. So I want to pass in, what was the name of it? Toggle. Toggle. I don't want to do on touch end. And then in the, I think I took too much there. And then in the button, I want to have nothing in here. I want it to just say toggle LED. Okay. That looks generally okay, I think. I want to end this div. I want to end this div. Now I need to put in my JavaScript function. Which I'll put at the end of my body. I'll also pull in some bootstrappy ones as well. Just in case that I need them. So function make Ajax request URL. So basically this is saying make an Ajax request to the following URL, so it's going to hit toggle on the same web server as the page that's calling it, hopefully. That should be good. Get rid of this, get rid of this. Righty-o, okay, sorry about that. So it's just looking around Twitch. Oh, that's cool. I think I was this is my 4th stream, and I think the first 2 streams I was in the wrong location. I'm pretty new to Twitch in terms of I haven't even used it that much as a viewer. I think I was in the IRL one, which I think is more kind of blogs of like, hey, here's my day went and blah 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 blah. But yeah, I think creative is the better place for it, but I'm not too sure. So I think if you found it, it's obviously a good start. So you made some normal weather station stuff, an automated watering system. Again, that's on my list. Some soaker hoses for my vegetable garden that I keep meaning to do. So someday, not someday soon though. And then an adult rated toy, very interesting. And we've got iGiggles. Creative is what I assume it should be. Yeah. Hopefully. Cool. Where do you get your stuff, Sil? Is it off AliExpress? It's getting kind of into slow season for them at the moment now. So let's see what this looks like. It's a bit big, so maybe my 100% is a bit wrong. But let's see, does it work? The more important thing. So it does. Perfect. Okay, so it's probably going to be used on a phone anyway, so it'll be fine. I'll add some. See, this is what it'll look like. I'll add a bit of padding to the top, maybe. Is it padding or margin? It is margin. I can never remember which one is which. Margin top, and we'll do 1 EM. Yeah. Maybe 2 EM. Okay, so let's add that to our code here. So if you're not familiar with the Chrome debugger, because I guess this is kind of a little strange in terms of if you're normally doing Arduino stuff to be like doing web development too. that yeah, it's kind of a different skill set or whatever. I'm kind of not great at any of them, so a jack of all trades, master of none. So what did I say? Margin top tip, margin top 2 EM. So that should cover us for that. Now the next thing we want to do is add a I forget what you called it, a range control. Okay, cool. So where did I put that range control? Here. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna look at their code. They have an input of type range with a min of 0 and a max of 100. So let's copy that. Okay. We can style it in a minute. We also need to like add Ajax to it that it'll like, you know, send events back. But we'll worry about that in a second once we get it looking right. So I guess to make it easy for ourselves, if we keep it the same as the input, the same as the rotary encoder maxes, so it's like 1010 and 1020. So let's see what that looks like. You use the Unity game engine to make remote controls for your devices. That's very crazy, is it? That's kind of, well, I suppose it's good in a like it's compatible with all the different devices. Yeah, it's actually kind of an overlooked thing with game engines is they can deploy to a lot of different operating systems. Like they do it better than anything else nearly, so that's pretty good. You ordered stuff from some stuff from Adafruit for $8 for parts and $28 for shipping, and yeah. So yeah, I like Adafruit a lot as a company. I think they're really cool. Their Discord is pretty interesting too. I think it's just adafruit.com/Discord. There's a lot of cool people on that, and very helpful. The shipping is the killer for me. It's not even the shipping, it's the tax as well. Like, yeah, basically it just like I think the price of their stuff is fine, like especially seeing as it's made in the United States or whatever, or the majority of it. But yeah, it's just when you add on the shipping and then the tax, the import tax that I'd have to pay as well, it's just it's so much more expensive than somewhere like AliExpress. But yeah, AliExpress is very slow at the moment though. Very slow. Okay, let's reload. So we got a little toggle. Woo. Okay, cool. Needs to be styled a bit. Oh, I've broken my styling. What's wrong with it? Invalid property type. Ah. Whoopsies. Okay, LED strip Wi-Fi. So I did a comma instead of a semicolon. And we're going to need to add probably the same. The width thing is fine, but we'll add the margin to this as well. So Syl is saying that she ordered an 3D printer, and with DHL shipping it came in 3 days. That is awesome. Yeah, that's really good. Do you have to pay import tax on that? We would. Anything over like €25 in Ireland is anything over €25 in Ireland is liable for import tax, which is not good from a price perspective. Yeah, what kind of a 3D printer did you get? I got a G-Tech won an aluminium frame last year. I do not use it near as much as I should have. They declared the value is $58, so you paid €4 in import tax. Nice. I paid a lot more on import tax on my 3D printer. I think I bought it off Banggood or someone. I wasn't using AliExpress at the time, or maybe I just, I wasn't fully used to using them anyways. Okay, so this doesn't look too bad. I would be okay with not even styling this for the moment. So if I could just get it working. I got an Ender 2 printer. I must look that up afterwards. Yeah, like I like my 3D printer, but I do not use it near enough. Like if I was anywhere near like a makerspace or anything, like I would be much better off like just sharing a 3D printer nearly. Okay, so I don't know how to work with these, so I didn't even know what they were called even. Ajax range range slider. Okay. So you do it inside a stop. Okay, so when the thing stops, it sends the Ajax call. Cool. Do I have access to its value? Oh, my echo just turned on. Obviously I thought it said something. This is creating it. So I want to slider. I'm not too happy with this link. It's just 150 by 150, 200. Yeah, mine is a pretty standard standard size as well. It's like 20 by 20 by 20? 18 or something like that. Where am I? Wicked jQuery. I just want to use a range. Ajax range. Range component Ajax. I guess that first one was the one I need to go with. So I need to get rid of some of the stuff. So I have to listen to the stop function. I guess there's a range component stop event. Maybe I need to use a jQuery slider if I'm using the stop event. Okay, we'll give it a go. See how it works out. We won't make an Ajax call with it just yet. Okay, so let's give it an ID. ID equals brightness. Bright. So still is saying every time I print with my other printer, it smells like burnt apple cake. Use some apple tree wood to make the printer. I guess it could smell like worse things. Yeah. Okay, so that's that. Now, if I go to script, let's put this down here. that is the dot is the class, right? I'm not great with jQuery. jQuery ID selector. Yep. Brightness. Okay, I have no idea whether this will work, but let's give it a go. Console.log, and let's log out event, and we'll upload that. Okay. Thank you, Agent 007, and Sil has provided. Ooh, this looks good. Add HTML, add CSS, and then add JavaScript. Oh, so I can just slider that value. Oh, that's nice. So what? Okay, so on input. Yeah, I kind of do want to do on stop, I would say. Can I see what is available? What method is available in a range slider? That's a good start. I'm just gonna do on stop and see does it work. Doesn't like on stop. It might be a jQuery thing. Let's test it out here. Well, my way didn't work any better anyways. Let's see, so it's input range oops, that was a good link, but oops, I have way too much stuff here. Let's go back to here. Range slider, on stop. There's a slide stop event. Again, that's jQuery. Do you know about stopping? Isn't slider part of jQuery UI? You have one not close script, close function in the event handler is only one. Okay. That's here, is it? Ooh, yeah. Yes, thank you. Let's edit that as HTML. That's kind of, ugh. Still doesn't seem to be doing anything. Isn't slider part of jQuery? Yeah, it probably is. Yeah, I just don't want to send the... Do I want to send the thing back until they've stopped? It's just, yeah, I don't want to be sending the value back as they're scrolling the entire time. I guess... on slide stop. Change, yeah, maybe change. This didn't work anyways. Slider to change. I guess let's do it the old-fashioned way. Oh, doesn't let me. Confused what to do. Is slider from Bootstrap? No, this isn't. This is just a plain old input, and he's just doing document.get element by ID is slider. What did it start as? It started as, let me get rid of this. On input. I can probably do on touch stop or something. Won't that work? On touch stop. Oh, it's on touch end, maybe? Yeah, on touch end. So let's try that. On touch end. Doesn't really like anything I try. I just see the stop method on jQuery. Is it because I have it all different cases? Oops. Yeah, I guess I will have to use this now. View source. Yeah. Let's do it. Thank you for the link. Okay, let's just comment that out in case we want them again. Okay, div slider, and then we have this. Yeah, I think you are on the right lines now. Thank you. Appreciate it. Okay, I'm gonna have to finish up soon. Let's see. Must be pretty late for you still. If you're in Norway, you're at least an hour ahead of me, if not two. Agend, where are you from? Hope it's hope it's not too late. Okay. My jQuery. Oh, you even told me about it the last time, and I still didn't fix it. I don't have my end script. You are Polish. Cool. It's definitely at least 1 o'clock in Poland. I was in Poland for the European Championships back in 2012. I really enjoyed my time there, actually. Ireland did terrible, but it was fun. I have jQuery included, actually, with the Bootstrap stuff. Oh, sorry, it's jQuery UI. I'm from Ireland. I am from Ireland. I have jQuery. I need jQuery UI. Yeah, you're right. Thank you. Let me just grab this. When I was over there, I spent the majority of my time in Turin, where Copernicus is from. And then I went to, like, there's 2 matches in Poznan and 1 match in Gdansk. I stayed most of my time in Turin and then spent like 2 or 3 nights in Gdansk. Yeah, I really enjoyed all of it, actually. Turin was really nice, and so was Gdansk. Let's see now. You might be able to hear my girlfriend telling the dogs to go to bed. I presume she'll be telling me to go to bed soon. Okay, no errors, but no slider either. Where is my slider? It's there, so I guess, yeah. I don't think I'm following your... To run. Yeah, that was it, yeah. It was super nice. Am I doing this wrong? I have a slider and I'm passing stop. I guess I need to pass other stuff into my slider too. He doesn't. Oh, he's wrapping it in this function thing. This is that is something I kind of remember from jQuery before. It stops it from executing too early, right? It might be trying to... Oops. It might be trying to initialize that slider before... Now I need to go back and find that link where I've had that stop stuff. I think it might be trying to initialize the slider before it's ready. It's all coming back to me now. Slider, jQuery. jQuery slider stop event. Oh yeah, sure, I need to set the values here. Okay, so that's like this, I think. So value, I guess we'll start at 200. We'll need to change this on the fly too. That's something we can worry about another day, I think. Slider. I can set the steps as well. Probably go up in 10. Step. Let's see how that goes. Yeah, sure, that's probably why it didn't work. If I had a, if I didn't specify the min and max. I might need to set some styles on it too. The event is slide. Slider. Okay, hopefully this works. Okay. So Mudkip on Twitch is saying that I should put it in Spiff, put jQuery and Bootstrap in Spiffs instead of loading it from the CDN to make this work offline, unless that's not a concern. It's not a big concern, to be honest. Mudkip, like this is going to control the lights in like my kitchen. It would be fairly rare that I wouldn't have internet, and even in that case, it's probably going to be cached on the device anyways. But you know, worst comes to worst, like we can still control the lights using the built-in stuff. I have a missing exception where, no. Okay, let's fix that. That's the problem with working late. Just making mistakes. Sil is saying you got no on change on the slider itself, so it doesn't know what it's meant to trigger. I think the stop method here, Sil, is going to be when it stops moving, it's going to send the event. Maybe that's not exactly what I want, but we'll see how it goes. I think it should be fine. And you have the jQuery UI slider, and I can view source. Yeah, there wasn't a huge amount of source in this, which I thought was kind of strange. View source. Yeah, it's just a slider, and it has a blank constructor. It's just as a empty slider div and then a blank constructor, but it was wrapped in the function, so I'm hoping that solves it. Doesn't solve it. No errors. Maybe it's just that I don't have a width set on this, because yeah, that could be it actually. So let's I don't know how I'm gonna highlight it. Inspect slider. No, doesn't show up still. That's unusual. So slider, I don't know if anything's spelled wrong. Maybe there's something wrong with my stop. I have my script tag. It sees it because it's adding all these classes to it, but it should have. Like, this is completely tiny. I have jQuery UI now. What is up with that? Oh, okay, I'm gonna just try the example exactly as it is here. Maybe there's something else I'm missing. jQuery UI. Oh, I don't have the CSS. Could be it. Yeah, agend sent on similar. I don't have that slider margin 10, but I'll try that out manually if it doesn't work out. Thanks for all the suggestions. Okay, we've got 8 viewers. Hello to everybody, and Shadow on YouTube. What's this wacky string literal? Oh, raw string literal is very nice. Yeah, it's just a nice way of doing web pages on the ESP8266, so it keeps your sketch pretty clean, and also you can, you know, write web pages pretty much exactly as you normally would. Like you could drop that into a HTML file if you wanted to. Okay. Woohoo! You're right about the margin. Definitely needs it. And we got an event as well. Perfect. Do I get to see the value? I guess I could just read the value. Yeah, okay. You were very right about the margin though. So let's add that in. Let's add it in here. Style. Margin 10, which is a 10 px. Yeah, seems good to me. Okay, and now we can do Ajax calls in here. So the URL is bright. I'm going to need to read the value first. Brightness level equals something. So var let's do level equals, I can probably do this or whatever, but is it that value? API documentation, value, it sets the value. How can I read the value back? UI value. Okay, cool, thank you. I really need to listen or keep a better eye on the chat rather than looking at other stuff. Thanks so much for all your help. I should do all my work streaming so I can use E to good effect. So hopefully this just works now, right? Because it's making an Ajax request, the brightness level, and then UI value, which is hopefully somewhere between min and max. Although I don't see value, like it doesn't seem to be starting at 200 if, but we'll see. So it's uploading there. Okay, cool. Don't need to press that again. Okay, I should probably just do margin top and bottom. Okay, it did start at 200 because it's around. So let's toggle the LED. Woohoo, that looks like it's working. Awesome. So that's at a full brightness. You probably can't see a thing. Oh no, you can. It's not too bad actually, because it's pointing towards me. Actually, you can see it on my face and that screen there, the difference in the brightness. Okay, so let's max it up and we'll see what the Arduino thinks it is. Yeah, so brightness is set to 120 and then we drop it down to its lowest. Okay, cool. So that is working. So I had hoped to move on to the echo stuff, but I need to go to bed. So I don't think I'll be able to do it. Will I be able to do it? No. Okay, we'll give it 2 minutes. Okay, that's great though. Pretty happy with that. I do need to do a bit of styling on it or whatever, but yeah, functionally I think it's working pretty good. That so you scroll, when you let go it sets the brightness, I think that's a good kind of mix between noisy and not noisy. So thank you for all the thank you for all the help with that. Okay, so this should be easier. I'm hoping. Okay, so let's bring this in here. Let's get rid of this for a second. No, let's not get rid of E, because you're my guiding light. Okay, so there's two libraries that I know of for doing this. One is ESP8266 or something. I am not going to use that one, even though I don't know, if I was probably recommending you to use one, I'd probably look at that one first. What I am going to use is, I can't even remember its name. Can I search by name? Wemo. I definitely have one somewhere. Huh. This is my cheat sheet from earlier on. I bet I did have that saved somewhere. No, I didn't. Okay, no worries. Repository. Oh, you can see it there actually. This is definitely on the... It is not on the library manager. I need to do that. Okay, I can see by the fact that it's not released that it's not on the library manager. So somebody had wrote a sketch before that was for doing this, connecting to your Amazon Echo, and I turned it into a library, so I just made it a bit more generic or whatever, and oops, I downloaded that twice. Yeah, so I'm not sure whether FOMO or this one is better, to be honest. I haven't really looked at the FOMO one too much, but I definitely wouldn't rule it out. Where is it? Downloads. Yes, you. Okay, so I just downloaded the zip. I added it as a library. Let's look at a basic example from the library. Let's just do single switch. So I'm just going to toggle it. I'm not going to set the volume or the brightness at all. So what this does is it emulates like a Belkin Wemo plug. So that's just a plug that you plug in, and it's a smart plug. So you'd like plug your lamp into it, so you would be able to go echo, turn lamp on or whatever. So this just emulates that traffic on an ESP8266. So when the echo searches for these Belkin plugs, the ESP8266 goes, yeah, I'm a Belkin plug. I can do all that stuff. So yeah, let's grab that stuff. Okay, so we need to pull in all this stuff. What is connect Wi-Fi? Prototypes. I have no idea what that connect Wi-Fi is doing. Returns a boolean. Cool, let's not worry about it. We need all this stuff. Maybe not that connect Wi-Fi. And let's dump it up here. I will tidy up this some other time. I really don't think I need that prototypes, but I'll throw it in anyways. I do need this light on stuff. I remember that. Single switch. Okay, we need this Wemo manager and the Wemo switch. So this, you can have many different devices. So you can have, like, I think it's up to 16. You can emulate up to 16 Wemo plugs with one ESP8266. So we're just going to do one at the moment. We're going to call it light. Okay, I've kind of lost track of where I am. Let's see. Don't need any of that. So we're already connecting to the Wi-Fi, so we need this stuff. Local port number, so we probably want to change that because we are using a server on another port. I have no idea if that'll work. But let's see. So down here, so we're starting the Wemo manager with begin. So this is going to be its name, so we'll call this counter lights. So this will be the thing that we say, so it'll be like echo turn counter lights on, or turn counter lights off. So let's change this to 81, and then we're passing in that light thing that we created earlier on, or sorry, here. We're passing it in there, and so these are two callbacks. So we need to create functions that this library will call when the echo says turn it on. We actually don't need two, because all we want to do is toggle. So yeah, we could get away with just toggling once actually. So let's go back to our single switch example. Do we need to do anything special in it? No. So what we're going to do instead is we are going to rename these callbacks. We are going to rename these callbacks toggle LED, because we do not need two. Well, I guess you could have turn whatever on. No, not worried about it. So no matter if you say turn on or off the LEDs, it's just going to toggle the LEDs. That's how we're going to do it. Okay, I guess that should be it. I think we need to listen for it in the loop as well. Yes, Wemo manager server loop. Okay, let's see. Electronics workshop, whatever you are typing in is being blocked. Message retracted. Oh no, sorry, you're getting rid of it. Okay, that's what message retracted means. Okay, this is uploaded. Oh, I have a problem. My echo and my Wemos are now or my ESP8266 are now on different Wi-Fi networks. So I'm going to connect it to my home network instead of the one I use for streaming. So we won't be able to connect to the web page anymore. So I have two broadband lines in my house at the moment. I have a DSL line and like a mobile hotspot basically, and the mobile hotspot's what I'm using now because it has a much better upload speed than my DSL, and so the rest of my house is connected on the DSL line except this PC, and then I also connected the ESP8266 to it as well. But the Echo, which we can bring in now I suppose, is connected to the regular home Wi-Fi. So right. Okay, cool. Let's hope that connected okay. Alright, so it said that it added a light. That isn't. I suppose I could have used that. Right, let me clear all these notifications on my phone. Okay. Alexa, turn counter lights on.
Sorry, I didn't find counter lights.
Okay, so we need to add counter lights. So I am going to just go to, my phone's running out of battery. I need to sign into my Amazon account. I'm just putting that up here because it would show you exactly what my password is if I left it down. So Alexa isn't technically available in Ireland, so I can't download this app because it's blocked.
Sorry, I'm not sure.
Okay, I need to be careful with what I say. The Echo isn't technically available in Ireland, and when you go to the web page, it on your phone it tells you to go download the app, but you can't download the app. So you need to request a desktop site. Sorry, I know this is a terrible way of showing things, but all I'm trying to do is add the device. So I'm going to settings, I think. Am I going to settings? No, it's smart home actually. Smart home, going to devices. I'm clicking discover. So Echo is now looking for devices. Hopefully it is finding our ESP. It didn't find anything, so I'm just gonna search again. It's this multicast port that I think it's looking for. I think I remember needing to search a couple of times for it. Still hasn't found anything though. Maybe it's not searching with the right echo. Okay, I'm gonna try forget all my other devices because I don't have anything on it at the moment. Come on. This is a boring part of the stream. Only thing Alexa do is, oh, sorry, I didn't mean to say it. Yeah, I normally just use it for Spotify. is the main thing I use it for. Mr. Echo device. Check in here. Yeah, it's definitely smart home. And then devices, and then discover. Maybe. Excuse me. I'll reset it. That is kind of a weird IP address on this router. I've never seen anything get that before. I guess I could check on my phone if it is actually on that network. No, it's not. Or my phone isn't, is it? No, my phone is. Yeah, that's funny. I can't connect to it on my... Is anything working on it? Yeah. Doesn't seem to be behaving too well, but it does work. So maybe if I power it off and power it back on again. Oh. Alexa, tell me a joke.
How many cats does it take to screw in a light bulb? Hundreds, probably. Could a cat ever screw in a light bulb?
That's a really bad joke. Can you, Alexa, tell me a fart joke?
I wrote a fart joke, but it was too long-winded.
That was slightly better than the cat joke, but it was still pretty poor. Okay, tools, port, com. I should have quit while I was ahead when I got the web page working. Okay, so we're uploading. Sketch again. I could be missing something. I begin the Wemo manager. I add the light. And I have the server loop. Maybe it doesn't like that 81. I think it should be fine though. It has to work okay because multiple devices use different port numbers.